Join us on an investigative journey as we educate each other on a scientific discovery, concept, or phenomenon.
Then we'll take a dive into the complex and misleading world of pseudoscience to sort the factual from the fabricated.
I'm Matt McCabe.
And I'm Levi Bateman.
And this is Idio Facto.
It is Idio Facto, I think. I can't really remember the last time we recorded an episode. It's been a very long time.
Idio Facto? Maybe that's how I should have said it.
Yeah, I've almost forgotten what we do. How do we do this again?
Well, you've forgotten how to speak, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've been away for a little while, and we're very sorry about that. We kind of got back into the swing of things after summer. We had a very busy summer, obviously. Both of us had a lot on. There was a few natural disasters to contend with, and that was moving house and new jobs and the like, so we were pretty busy. Got back into things, and then we took another little unannounced, unplanned hiatus. Yes,
well, I mean, a lot of that had to do with me moving house again, and me moving jobs again.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if has it been mentioned that there's been some sort of global event happening?
Which event? I can't think of one.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking maybe like...
Is it Christmas?
The pandemic.
Oh, right. That, okay.
Facing humanity.
I suppose, yeah. Yeah, that's taken up a little bit of our time, I guess.
A little bit, yeah.
So,
and, a little bit of our work and a little bit of our incomes and things like that.
Yeah, so we do apologise. There is another reason, though, that we've not recorded regular episodes, and it's that we're going to be making a few changes. So this is the last episode of Season 2, and it's really not a content episode, because we've got enough to talk about without actually mentioning any research or any new topics. So there's a few new items, I guess, to come in next season's show. So the first new...
We've already talked about.
We've kind of brought it up before, and it's a new song. So the current song is a song that we got off a website. It's it's royalty free, but we technically pay to use it. So the new song is a song that I've written on some digital music production software. So that's the first bit of news. The second bit of news is that we're actually going to mix up the structure of the show a little bit. So currently we've had two main segments, science and pseudoscience, and we've just kind of taken turns each week in doing those. But we thought
that's worked pretty good so far, but a lot of the reasons for us not recording when we haven't recorded in the past have been because that's a big research toll on both of us to have to both research a fairly large topic and synthesize that information down into a 30-minute segment for one episode of the podcast. So I did work it out one day, and between the research, the recording, and the editing, I think I probably spend about 12 hours per episode on just the production itself.
Yeah.
And that's not to include any of your research or recording or social media time that you spend as well. So there's probably a good 20 hours worth of production time for each episode.
Yeah.
Which is unsustainable.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And of course, this is not our job. We're not getting paid to do this. So this is work that we're doing usually on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday morning or after work. So, when we do have to do that big chunk of research every single week, it does sort of take its toll a little bit. And if we get busy even slightly, we sort of run out of time to do all that research. So that's one of the reasons that we're changing the structure a little bit. And another reason is we want to test out making it a little bit more, I suppose, conversational. We've had a bit of feedback that people like it when it's, a little bit more sort of banter, when there's a bit more free-flowing conversation rather than one person sitting down and issuing a lecture to the other person about a topic. So that's another reason why we're changing the structure. The biggest reason that we are changing the structure of the show is because there's something else really, really important and massive that we're going to have to fit into the new Idio Facto. Let's call it that.
Well, it's not that massive.
Jeez, don't let him hear you say that. Oh, I've given it away. That's right. We have a new member.
Oh, hey everyone. How are we going?
It's probably a voice that you recognise.
Thanks for thinking I'm massive and important, Levi. Much appreciated. And thanks for thinking I'm important and not massive, Matt.
Sorry. I always forget that you're Dr. Sam Losarica.
Yes,
That's right.
That is the correct title. Thank you.
Friend of the show, friend in real life, Dr. Sam Losarica is the third member of Idio Facto now. So going forward, starting in season 3, we're going to have 3 members. There's going to be myself, Matt, and Sam. And
so someone who's actually a qualified person to talk about medical things.
it sort of started out, I suppose, by us every time we spoke about something vaguely medical, either during the show or just afterwards, having a conversation after recording, thinking, saying we really wish that Sam had actually been here to explain that in terms that someone might be able to understand, or we wish someone that actually understood the topic was here. So we, obviously we got Sam on as a guest every now and then Sam came to us and said, what about a sort of semi-regular topic on diseases or something, wasn't it? You wanted to explain to us?
Yeah, I kind of thought it could be something like, discuss some common diseases, like in a bit more depth than regular community knowledge, like talking about strokes and heart attacks and diabetes and all those kind of things, but just like everyone knows what they are, but the knowledge in the community, unless it's someone that actually has the disease or knows someone that has the disease, often there's not really that much knowledge about it. So I thought it'd be a good thing to do, just adding to your education.
And so I think the combination of us not really having the time to do a full research of massive topics every week, the fact that we were changing the music anyway, the fact that we were coming to the end of season 2, and the fact that Sam offered his services on a regular basis, we thought, well, let's make it a permanent thing and let's change it up.
Yeah, exactly. So with a new guest comes a new show structure, I suppose. So we're not entirely sure how it's going to work yet, but we've got a pretty good idea. But I suppose before we get into that, Sam, do you want to talk a little bit about who you are? Because I think everyone probably knows roughly who Matt and I are, but do you want to just talk about your background, what you do, what you studied and where, and what you do for work?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a medical doctor. I studied at Flinders University. It's a postgraduate program, but I did the undergraduate pathway there. And then I've done most of my work at Flinders, a little bit at Lyle McEwen, which is a hospital in the north of Adelaide, but Flinders is down the south of Adelaide. And I'm currently in a training program as a registrar to be a rehab physician. So just starting off on that, it's his first year of that now at the moment. So just kind of getting into it. But I mean, in my previous years, I've worked across most of the specialties. I've done a bit of emergency and a bit of GP, and a lot of little placements in all the other areas like cardiology and respiratory and neurology, all those kind of things. So yeah,
so lots of good experience, and
most importantly, you're a medical doctor and not an MBBS.
Yes.
A very important distinction.
It is. I guarantee you, if there's anyone listening in America, medical doctor means something very different in Australia than it does there. Over there, it's
really?
Yeah. It's like it's essentially like a research qualification. It's like the equivalent of a PhD, but in medicine. Whereas here, it's just another label for the qualification. It's not actually like a higher qualification or anything.
Well, that's not what you said to us last time.
No, I said it was a different qualification. I didn't say it was better.
Pretty sure you at least hinted that it was better.
You introduced me as BMBS, and I had an ND, just to making sure. But yes, so I mean, I'm not a consultant or anything. I'm still in training programs, but been working as a doctor for fourth year out now. So
we don't need you.
Yeah, that's all right.
If you're not a consultant, then why
I'll just head off then, sir.
I did say the other day, Matt, that whilst we're giving Sam the opportunity to introduce himself and toot his own horn, I suppose. Do we want to do that for ourselves? Because I don't know. Like, we've only probably passively told everybody what we actually do and what we've done for study and work and why we're even vaguely qualified to be talking about anything scientific. So should we maybe just run through that quickly for ourselves too?
Sure. Well, I'm not sure how much my horn will toot, but...
Is that a euphemism?
Mate, if you got a horn that doesn't toot, you better see your doctor.
If your horn's tooting, come and see me. Oh, dear.
Oh, well, you want to go first then, Lev?
Sure. So I studied, fairly basic science in school. Did biology and chemistry throughout most of my SACE into year 12, and then
I'm sorry, your what?
my SACE, South Australian Certificate of Education.
Oh, no wonder I've never heard of it.
Yeah, that's what, I don't know if is that still what happens, Sam, in South Australia?
I think it's called something different now. Or something about it's changed, I'm not sure.
No. Well, it used to be...
But that's what it was when we were there.
We're all too old anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from this.
Like,
we're all too old.
Like, that was 11 and a half years ago, but 2009 I graduated. Whoa. That's a long time ago. But...
Yeah, well, let's just calm down, everybody. It wasn't that long ago. Just because I graduated high school in 2007 doesn't mean anything at all.
Oh, heck. Anyway, so I finished school and started studying a Bachelor of Forest Science through Southern Cross University. And I studied externally and, managed to keep working casually, and then throughout the summer in the uni holidays, worked for Parks Victoria, did a bit of summer firefighting, and then after my degree took me about 4.5 years to complete because I'm not very clever. No, because I did my last year basically part-time because I got some really good opportunities through work. So I took up an extended contract and did a couple of less subjects here and there, and then took up a summer unit. So anyway, after I finished, I got a job with my current employer, a large forestry company in Victoria, in Gippsland, just east of Melbourne. I worked there for a couple of years and then bought a house in Mount Gambier and shifted back. And I now work for the same forestry company, plantation company, out of the Mount Gambier office. That's what I do.
I guess that's my turn now,
I suppose, yeah. Well, the last remaining member.
So I
think we went from junior to senior.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Sam's the youngest. Sam's the youngest by far. What are you, Sam? 22
and Matt is the
or something?
oldest
successful
by far.
Anyway, like I said, I graduated school in 2007. I really didn't do any sciences at school. I didn't even...
Were they even offered back then? Or?
Wow. Well, I don't know if they'd formalised the scientific method back then.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I graduated in 2007 and I barely did any science at school. I didn't even know that I was really interested in science until about 6 months before the end of high school, and then after that I decided that that's what I wanted to do. So my first year of uni, I started studying a Bachelor of Medical Science with a view to potentially becoming a doctor at some stage. And then I fell so in love with biology in the first semester of uni that I pretty much switched to biology, just general biology, and I hated chemistry. So I did as little of that as I could, and then also worked in a summer camp in America for 3 years, which is where I met Molly from Yeah No Yeah, who we've done a collaboration with earlier on this season. So I took a few years off uni, and then I came back and worked a bit in retail while I finished my degree, and went part-time uni, took my time, basically then graduated in 2015 and got a job with the same company that Levi works for currently, and that's where I met Levi a couple of years ago. And then about a year ago, as you know, we talked about this on the podcast, I left that job and went traveling for a while, and now I'm back in Sydney and still working in retail, and waiting for the right opportunity to rear its ugly head, shall we say.
What was it about biology that you like so much?
Well, I distinctly remember the moment that I fell in love with biology. I was in a lab with the Australia's foremost koala expert, who was my professor.
Nice.
And he had collected a whole bunch of wild koalas, or wild koala corpses, and basically the lab was about autopsying those koalas and seeing how they died. And that was one of the most interesting labs that I've ever participated in.
That's
and
cool.
That was about the time that I went, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is what I want to do.
Want to cut up koalas.
And now, so every time I see a koala, I'm like, whoa.
Oh. Want to cut that bad boy up.
That's not the case.
No.
As part of my job with parks, I actually worked for a little while in another national park called Mount Eccles National Park, sort of just near Warrnambool, halfway between Mount Gambier and Warrnambool. And there was a koala numbers control program there, and because there was just far too many koalas. So, and no, we weren't culling the koalas. It was implanting a contraceptive implant essentially in the female. So just to try and slow the reproduction rate, just because they were a species that was introduced in the national park back in the 70s, and then the population just boomed, and so they were just eating far too many of the manigums, and they were all just really sick because there's too many koalas and not enough trees. But anyway,
It's crazy that we were like still introducing species to new areas after we'd seen how destructive it was. Like the 70s
Yeah.
is not that long ago.
no, that's right. Yeah, and it was something like 30 koalas or something. Someone that works at Parks Victoria will probably correct me here, but there was about 30 koalas or something that was introduced to the park back in the 70s, and then when they first started realizing that the trees were all getting sick and that the koalas were dropping from the sick trees in like 2000, they did a survey and worked out there was about 10,000 koalas in the park. So
Wow.
Whoa.
yeah, the population just really boomed, so they had to do something, or there'd be no
Yeah.
more population of koalas or manigum, which is a bad outcome for all of the ecosystem. But one day we had a lecturer from a uni come out with us, and she was super interested in koalas and koala blood and some of the diseases that koalas could pass through their blood, and in particular from koala blood to mosquitoes to other koalas. So she was doing some interesting research, but one thing that was super interesting was every time we were in the park walking through trying to find these koalas, every time we came across something that was dead, like either I think we found a dead crow, and there was some roadkill on the side of the road or something, a dead kangaroo, she would bag it up, put it in a box, and send it back to her university that afternoon
Oh, wow.
through the mail.
Oh,
And like a big esky, essentially.
Imagine being that postman.
Oh.
Wow.
But I think, it must have been some certain type of courier, because you can't just send dead animals through the post. But
No.
anyway, I thought,
Can you not?
I think that's illegal, isn't it?
Have you not been receiving the dead animals that I've been sending to you, Levi?
no, I have not been, which is probably proof
I
that
guess maybe you can't.
I guess Australia Post are taking them off before they get to me. Bugger, that's a shame.
Oh yeah, there was some interesting things there.
I once took a live frog on an aeroplane
What?
intentionally.
That's pretty illegal, but sure.
I don't know if it is. I'm not sure if it's super illegal. I mean, everyone's...
Did you pay for a ticket, though? For the frog?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine then.
Yeah. No, I bought Tiddalik a ticket. Tiddalik was its name. Yeah. But it was a frog that arrived when I used to work at a supermarket. It was a frog that arrived in a banana box.
Oh,
And I worked in the produce department, stacking bananas. And there was this frog in a box. And I was like, whoa. And the boxes came from like Mackay or somewhere or wherever that, northern New South Wales anyway. And I was...
You're showing your geographic ignorance here because Mackay is in North Queensland, mate.
Yeah, I think I said Mackay or somewhere, and then I said northern New South Wales. But,
Right, okay. That's fine. Yep.
Anyway.
Continue.
move along.
So I got this frog, and I kept it in a tank for... it would have been a year, a couple of years maybe. And yeah, this thing stayed alive and happy, and I fed it crickets. Anyway, I had to fly from Melbourne up to Lismore, which is in the Northern Rivers region of New South Wales. And I thought, actually, you know what? I could probably take this frog back and release it back to where it came from. And so I did. I took it on a plane in a little Tupperware container with a wet hanky or something like that just to keep it damp, and took it through the airport in my bag.
Did you show it to anyone?
Did they not ask you any questions?
No, it went through the X-ray machine.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, you gave that frog cancer.
I mean, to be honest, the flying foxes that were in the national park that I released it in probably killed it that night anyway. But,
It's right.
yeah.
I mean, it was a nice thought though, Levi.
Yeah. Better than it living out the last of its days in an aquarium in Mount Gambier. That wasn't real flash, but anyway. So yeah, I took it up to back up to New South Wales and released it up there.
Okay, well, that's probably less illegal than I thought it was originally.
Yeah.
I still am quite surprised that the people at the airport didn't ask you any questions about why your baggage was riveting.
Yeah, look, I hadn't even come up with a story about what I was going to say or do if I got caught, to be honest. I just got up.
If you got caught, they'd make you throw it out.
Well, I don't know.
Like, literally throw it in the bin, wouldn't they?
No, surely not. No,
Yeah, I reckon.
that.
I reckon
What?
they would.
Throw the frog in the bin.
I tell you what, if anyone knows the rules, please write it to us.
Are you allowed to take a live frog in a satchel on a plane?
Look, I'm sure it's not encouraged, put it that way.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of things that people do on a plane that aren't encouraged. Taking babies on a plane? I'm certainly not encouraging that kind of behaviour, but plenty of people do
no one
it.
in their right mind would encourage that. That's asking everyone to hate you.
I haven't been doing much flying lately, though. I don't think anyone really has.
Why is that, Levi?
Well, because there's a global pandemic, and it's pretty well affecting every aspect of our lives. Hi, it's Editing Levi here. Just jumping in with a quick note that the conversation that the three of us are about to have is about COVID, and we recorded this episode on the 24th of June, so a lot has actually changed since then. So just keep that in mind, that the conversation that we're having is basically irrelevant now and out of date.
Well, weirdly, life in Australia is getting somewhat back to normal, whereas the rest of the world does not seem to be.
Yeah.
Certainly
Certainly pretty fortunate here, I think.
There's still a lot of rubbish going on around the world. And here, I mean, we were pretty well on the right track, I think. Everything was looking good. The South Australian border was going to open back up again indefinitely on the 20th of July. And
Well, as of today, it still is.
that's right.
Hasn't been changed yet.
No,
But, I mean, you'd have to suspect with the spike in Victoria, it would be limited from Victoria still. But from other states, I mean, it's already open to three states.
Yeah, what's that? WANT in Queensland?
WANT and Tasmania, I think.
Tassie. Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Tasmania. But they haven't opened their borders to us. So you can travel into South Australia without having to quarantine, but you can't travel out of South Australia to those states without having to quarantine.
Well, if you ask Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews, why the hell would you want to go to South Australia?
Maybe because we're not having a spike of coronavirus.
That's an extremely good question. Why would you want to go to South Australia?
Well, you might want to survive the pandemic for a start.
Yeah.
Oh, well, New South Wales is doing fine.
You might want to come visit us, Matt.
You might want to visit 2/3 of Idio Facto.
Yeah. South Australia, the
great.
official state of Idio Facto.
Actually outnumbered now.
We've got him.
God.
South Australian podcast, Idio Facto.
Right. Well, on that note, boys.
With special guest New South
hates it.
Welshman Matthew McCabe. Cool. How do you feel about
Well,
that, Matt?
half of our audience is American anyway, so they're not going to have a clue what we're talking about.
Nah.
Different states, people. Different states.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably could have elaborated or extrapolated from context, really, but
Yeah.
still. Geographically, I'm not sure that the Americans are going to know where South Australia is compared to New South Wales. Although, South Australia is pretty obviously in the south of Australia. So,
New South Wales, though. Could be anywhere.
well, New South Wales is
Not very
south
descriptive.
of Wales, technically. So, you know.
It's definitely
True.
south of
And
Wales.
it's new.
Yeah.
It's
It
newer.
is newer.
Yeah.
It is newer than Wales. Yes, that's correct.
And Queensland, very proudly, the land of the Queen. I mean, she's she loves the land.
I'm really not sure where that got that name from. Anyway, this is
Yeah, absolute
turned
waffle.
to nonsense.
We promised the new season will be only half this much rubbish.
Yeah.
That's all right. Matt can edit it. He can edit it all out.
Yeah.
Or we
Thanks,
can just
Sam. It's good to have you on board.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
maybe that's the new trick. Is the new season's going to have zero editing.
Oh, God.
Freeform
Have
podcast.
you listened to you two over the
Wowza.
last half an hour?
It's just
My God.
totally raw.
There's no way I'm releasing a podcast with you two going on like you have been.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I accept that.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
All right, that's it for this episode of Idio Facto. Forward all suggestions, hate mail, evidence, and arguments to idiofacto@gmail.com.
And you can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all other social platforms at Idio Facto.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back for season 3 very soon. And links are in the show notes.
Maybe say something like, we'll say our bits, and then before you say links are in the show notes, you can say,
See you next season or something.
yeah, that's right, yeah. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back for season 3. Oh, and don't say links are in the show notes because we actually have no.
Well, let's just put a link,
no
random
links.
link for something in the show notes.
Link.
A link
is in the show
for a map of Australia
just
so
a-
the Americans
maybe
know
just
what
a
we're
gif
talking
of
about.
like link.
Well, we'll have to have multiple because it's plural links.
Yeah, well, that's actually very clever.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Yep.
That's funny.
Links
I like it.
links are in the show notes. Yep, cool. And like I'll post a picture of like maybe like a link to a photo of a chain, and then a photo of like Link from Zelda,
Yeah,
Go nuts.
and then
Just,
and then a photo of a lynx,
like a cat.
the big
Yeah.
cat.
yeah, that's good. And then like a golf course.
And then
Yeah.
then overhead picture of a golf course. Nice.
This is stupid. Okay,
This
let's keep.
is comedy gold. Welcome to season 3.
Oh God.